Welcome to the video. In this video, we'll talk about SOFI. We'll take a look at the daily and weekly time frame on the charts, see where I'm going to add, where I'm going to trim. We'll talk about my overall valuation. We'll take a look at the options market, what's happening there. We'll look at some SOFI news. In the meantime, my live portfolio results are there. You can copy me over on eToro. Enjoy. It's still Tuesday. I'm just filming this a little bit early because I've got some meetings on Wednesday and Thursday, and I didn't want to miss out on content. I've already missed a bunch of stuff, so my audio and visual are still running on the basic laptop because my wife's in the office and my other microphone doesn't want to work with this. But regardless of that, let's hop straight into SOFI. We are still having a heck of a ride here from this low. Peaked out at 249% return. So I would like to say that's been amazing for our portfolio. My portfolio and anyone copying me on eToro, currently from that low, we're up 218%. Now, I was expecting more of a pullback, but it appears we just want to grind out at this level. That's not a problem. My main concern was why I trimmed here was the RSI was getting a little bit cooked here, a little bit spicy. And when I to cool off a little bit, I did want to add a little bit more back, but it's still, I think, the third or fourth largest position in my portfolio. I don't want to over trim this one because I think the tailwinds coming for this business are just super incredible. The loan platform should be booming this coming year, and also the tech side of it should be booming as well in the coming year. They have mentioned that that's where they expect to see the growth numbers hit the bottom line. Very excited for that. So there are some kind of cautious tones coming in with SOFI. We've had this massive run up in price, so fair value, I think we'll talk about that in the news section. We're a little bit over where I would put fair value at the moment. Let me just quickly check. Kind of. My fair value is roughly about 28 something. So we're very close to it. We keep flip-flopping into it. So I'd love for SOFI just to grind around this area, wait for the next quarter, and then I can update my numbers and see if I want to add more or not. I don't really like adding to positions when they're over fair value. Tesla may be the one exception I've got to that, because that is just crazy front running on that one. People struggled a lot more with SOFI to see that growth than they do with Tesla. But looking at the chart, resistance to the upside, we've got that Fibonacci level at $31. 30 is always going to be strong psychologically. That is what we rejected off the last time. We are currently just under a Fibonacci level at 28.30. And above that, below that, we've got kind of historic support and resistance that has acted as both. So that was going to be fairly strong at $26. And further below that, we've got 23.31. That one's got a nice bit of volume. But the major closest support is that 21.48. I would love for SOFI to get that low again so I could buy more. Is it going to happen? I don't know. The narrative's certainly shifted. Rate cuts are going to be especially beneficial to financial assets, and a lot of people looking for lower risk may be moving in towards that sector. So the prices are going to get a little bit higher and the multiples are going to get a little bit more expansion as well. But RSI, like I said, it's cooling off. I would love for a little bit more cool off. Maybe we back test this $26. That would get us pretty neutral on that. We'll look at the weekly as well. MACDX Plus looks really good. Not much happening there. Still good. Sliding a little bit. And Flow had a little bit of a cool off, but nothing major. Let's check out kind of weekly, where we're at, what we're doing. I mean, when you look at the weekly, that move up just looks even crazier. But typically, SOFI has really loved its measured moves. It's completed all of its measured moves now, so it's time for us to set up some new patterns to trade on this one. So some chop. I'm definitely expecting chop around here. I don't think we're going to have another parabolic move in this one quite soon. It needs some cool off. We had an insane move going around there. Did I think I measured that already? Yeah, back 250%. But from the actual lows is nearly 600% return, and can't say I've not been banging the drum on this one for a while. But like I say, measured moves are all completed now. We're in the kind of expected to have a rejection here, and we could have this as a massive cup and handle formation. Would love to see that because I would load the boat on that. Technically and fundamentally, that would be an amazing trade. Is it going to happen? Don't know. I definitely expect some cooling off here though, or at least some chop. The RSI on the weekly is still quite spicy, so that does need to come down a little bit. So chop or pull back. But again, it can get a little bit hotter. We can run up to kind of 90, and we're at 78. So wouldn't be too shocked to see another push higher. But ideally, we need to cool off the technicals on this one, and the valuation is also getting a little bit stretched. So it makes sense. You don't just want to go straight up 1,000%. As good as that sounds, it's really hard to time entries and exits. You need to have that good flow and the good basing. Let's look at the options then. Okay, so market makers on this one want to keep it under $30. They've pretty much done that. Had a really good rejection here. That's pulled it down into the middle. And support here is at $26. So market makers want to keep it below that, so that they want to keep it below $30, so they don't have to pay the premium to the long positions with leverage, and they want to keep it above support, so they don't have to pay people to the short side the premiums that they've earned. Let me move this out of the way. Sorry, my dog's just pushed the door open, which is always helpful. So we can see, historically speaking, they do keep SOFI pretty well in bounds. They've struggled a little bit with moves to the upside, but that's because the narrative's really shifted on this one, and it's just been growing faster than they can control. I don't want to say manipulate, so that's not what they really do. They're providing liquidity by doing this, so we can't complain too much. Pushing out to January 2026. We do have a lot of people sitting in the money in this one that don't seem to want to sell out. Can't hate that. We do have quite a lot of volume to the downside coming. Now, I don't think we're probably going to see these numbers again. Could be wrong though. That's annoying. Get rid of that. These to me look more like hedging or legacy positions, just for if we do have something catastrophic in the market, we will have a large downside move in something like this. 2027 January. Again, a lot of strike volume sitting at 15. I normally can click on this, but I can't this time, which is frustrating. But certainly a lot of people still sitting in the money. So I think a lot of people that have been in this position for a long time seem to be really wanting to hold this and let them expire. Can't hate that logic, but they're going to have to be careful of the time decaying their gains on that one. Let me just have a look closer out, more out here. Just curious. Some quite large moves in upside and downside though. I think the next quarter we'll get some clarity on the options market on this one. It's not exactly popular for people to trade options on this one. The price limit I'm willing to pay up to this quarter for SOFI is 28.68. My current price on there is a little bit wrong. It should be 27.37 as of today. It's just a little bit old on that one. So I'm sitting right at it. I don't want to add to my positions when they're currently at the value of what I want to stick to. That's my rule. I don't add when it's spicy. That's a little bit different for Tesla, so I value that slightly differently. That's much more on forward projections. But for this one, I do this quarter by quarter rolling. So I'm always adjusting with it because it's such a large weighting in my portfolio as well. I'm more likely to trim when we get really overvalued on this one. But I think I've learned my lesson from Hood and Palantir that I'm willing to let price get a little bit more overvalued before I trim as heavily, especially on a company where I think it's going to have an amazing couple of years. And that value is going to be so much higher. Other than that, though, this model, it is based on a DCF kind of calculation, but it's a little bit different. It is based on EBITDA minus CapEx for a better measure. You can't use free cash flow on this one because it's a bank. If you did it that way, the current probability price limit would be probably $0. So bear that in mind. Also, institutions, we've seen a really big jump up and the big boys buying this one. Glad to see it. It did slide off a little bit, but the trend is still our friend and moving up. Other than that, though, we had a little bit of a red day yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. It was kind of upstart delinquency news, got called out, and it did affect a lot of financial companies. I think Noto did come out the same day and reiterate, it just mentioned here, SOFI leadership told you credit metric looks good, and I did go back and verify that, and it is true, and Noto did make a small statement. It is in my X feed if you want to go find it there. Also, other than this, SOFI's average borrower's FICO is 750 plus and average income 150k. It's a different clientele. It's not going to have the same delinquency, and we are seeing that quarter to quarter. They are above their averages on that.
SOFI has also demonstrated consistently better cross-cycle underwriting resilience. So we're seeing that across the board. So why it sold off, I understand, because it affects the broader market, but through the day, things picked up a little bit as people realised that was a bit rubbish, really.
That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to share it with your mum, your nan, your dad, your dog, whoever. And I'll see you next time.